Yes, people, what we saying? Just a quick random update, fucking Hodge Podge random video on a whim, not really premeditated or scripted at all, mate. Just whipping out the camera and thought, fuck knows, I might do some breath work for the sake of it. Don't expect nothing from me, but yeah, just not long got back from Stand in the Light festival with the conscious rapper community, and I've been trying to upload and export all of that. I've probably got over 5 hours of 4K good footage, yeah, shot on this phone with like my fucking proper sick camera. It's just YouTube and the digital curse bug is like kind of fucking me over. Like, well, like, what I mean by digital curse is like all of the digital applications are fucking fundamentally broken. I've noticed, like, you know how Instagram is just full of bugs, and like YouTube's doing that to me. I try and upload the video and it keeps like blocking the upload for no fucking real reason. So it's a bit of a hurdle I'm trying to get over, but anyway, it'll be up. Just message me if you want me to send you shit. And I've got so much on my plate, to be honest. It's quite hard to juggle everything, as it is for most people who have a human incarnation. But yeah, I spent so much time like over the winter, like just trying to block life by smoking weed, because I was going through so much shit, trying to cope with life. Like, I basically, like, Inspector Veg says some people deal with problems by not dealing with them, and I think I had been doing that to an extent by like, instead of like tackling the mountain of obligations and tasks, I would just like rather go to sleep and turn life off. And that's the solution. But then that's not a real solution, because it just stacks up. And basically I've let loads of shit stack up over fucking, what was that, mate? Maybe it's this fucking, I'd literally just went up to a police officer and I'm like, bro, you gonna do anything about this stratospheric aerosol injection? He's like, call 101 or something. While he's I was like, fucking 101, bro. He's fucking spraying heavy metals in the sky, bro. What do you mean 101? This is a 999 emergency. Well, kind of, I don't know, fuck knows. It is, bro. I don't know, he's too busy fucking tackling some beef with these young girls that keep using the pub toilet, and apparently that's more important than the fucking geoengineering. Anyway, but yeah, I think I'll do some breath work, but it's like, do I really want to do breath work underneath the stratospheric aerosol injection? And that's partly why I can be kind of suspicious about some of these spiritual archon people. It's like everyone bigs up breathwork, and they're not wrong. But like, you know, breathwork under the chemtrails? It's tricky. I think your nose has a filter. That's which is, I prefer to do nasal breathwork a lot of the time, because apparently there's a filter with the nose. You're supposed to breathe with the nose. If you look at the studies, mouth breathing will leave you with a deformed fucking skull, mate. If you do that, hella loads. Anyhow, yeah, I got a lot on my plate, so sorry, fucking, I got a lot of people who's waiting for me to like clip up their shit for them, and like, honestly, I got so much going on. Like, even in my personal life, I got, like, I've never been like so kind of busy, or so much to do. Like, I'm really going in this direction of like masculine devotion of like, because Hamza says the masculine, in one video he says, if you got a bit of paper and like, to get from A to B, that's the masculine's job, is basically what was Hamza was saying somewhat. It's like, fucking, what it takes to get you from A to B, or A to Z. Basically, if you picture where you are now, and then where you want to be, and then the steps necessary to get where you want to be, often when it comes to like physically, like, you know, earning money, or like building a fucking house or something like that, like that's often the masculine. It's maybe if it's about enlightenment and self-love, maybe it'll be more of the feminine. You know, maybe the masculine isn't the only thing that gets you from A to B, but I think when it's like digging a huge hole, that's the masculine. But anyway, I've been getting a shit ton of masculine insights and downloads. I think it's partly, yeah, like there's this insight, very interesting insight, that I need to communicate. I've wanted to for a while, and it's basically how the feminine activates the masculine. If you, like, I had a lack of experience of really hanging out with like feminine women, really, like, or I don't know, I was kind of a zombot, and I've been disassociated most of my life and traumatized and shit, but like, basically I spend more time around like a feminine woman or girl who I'm like actually interested in, like somewhat like in that kind of way, yeah. And it like basically like the polarity, they kind of create each other, where like basically being me, in my experience, being around like a feminine, like correctly polarized like woman has actually activated my kind of polarization in contrast, so to speak, where it's like basically the obviously the feminine and the masculine, they go together like the yin and yang. So if as a guy, because I'd had a lot more feminine energy a lot in my life, and basically like being around a feminine woman and then acknowledging that like feminine women tend to want masculine men, it basically like gave me like a shit ton of downloads about masculinity. And I've also been watching loads more Hamza, and he's got bare programs and that as well, and he's still traumatized and that to an extent, but I like him overall in a lot of ways, somewhat. Hamza Ahmed on YouTube, a masculine personal development channel, obviously aimed mostly at young men. Yeah, it's basically like after I got back from hanging around with like this hyper feminine girl, who I'd say like for the most part like I'm pretty interested in, I guess, like fucking, I'm not trying to deep the details on that, but you get what I mean. It's like I literally was getting automatic intuitive insights about masculinity, like I just got pummeled with those insights, and I think that's just like in my biology and my DNA, like telling me like you know, basically it's just like, I'm not even inherently talking about this one girl, but I'm just talking more as like a kind of, so just like an insight detached from me personally, just for you or anyone. It's like, if you catch an eye for a feminine girl who you like in that type of way, it will actually like, you become what you need to be in order to win the girl, so to speak, or like you will like get activated in that way. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, what I was talking about with the masculine A to B shit is that's a lot more of what I'm stepping into. I feel that's what's becoming much more important to me. And in terms of the mountain of obligations that I've stacked up, which is why it's a little bit difficult for me to sometimes to export and do all this stuff, especially when all these digital bugs are getting in my way and the New World Order is trying to gang stalk me like fuck, is basically I need to like work through this mountain of obligations, and like the more I smoke weed and hide from the mountain of obligations, the bigger it gets, basically. So don't deal with things by avoiding them and going to sleep and getting high, because they will just stack up and you might have temporary relief, but that's instant gratification, and it don't fucking work. And a lot of you might have to learn the hard way. I really wish I could tell you something that would stop you from making all the mistakes you're about to make, but I think a lot of you actually might have to make them yourselves and burn through your own karma. Yeah, that was a big rant, mate. Hopefully you can fucking hear me in this wind, but like, yeah, it's that's all I'm saying anyway. It's just, that's it. I'm trying to export everything, but yeah, I'm trying to get over this super mountain of obligations. And like, what I mean by that is like, I mean, to be fair, see, a lot of the pressure that I put on myself is actually my passion. Like Traumatic says, my passion is killing me. And you know, if I was comfortable with being a wage slave, yeah, I could have been content long ago. Like most people will just stay in a shit job and they just seem to be sound with that and just getting assimilated like that. But yeah, like I put pressure on myself because I have a life purpose. So it's like this mountain of obligations that I'm talking about, I've actually invented most of it due to my passion. If I wasn't passionate, then obviously I wouldn't have the passion to do the mountain of obligation. And so it's not even obligations inherently. Like there's a lot of it that like I want to retire my family and like things like that, and I'll create the New Earth actualization. And with the conscious rapper community, they're a huge part of my life purpose. They activate me loads in that kind of way with my life purpose. And yeah, like that's it. There's so much stuff that I'm passionate about that I really want to do, yeah. Like making music, making more of these videos, and like really organizing and rebranding my page. And it's like there's like achievements and goals, and that's it. Just like basically you have to, for you and me, get very familiar with exactly what your goals are, yeah. And like refine who you want to become. That visualization has done so much for me. Who do I want to be? Imagine like your ideal self, your ideal physique, the ideal things that you do for those around you, your family, what kind of, yeah, like, you know, how you serve the people around you, which can help with your fulfillment, what you want to create, what art you want to create, what passions maybe. Really visualize like what it would actually be like to be who you are trying to become, and that would be who you are now in contrast to who you want to be. You should love and accept yourself somewhat. Like, this is the thing with Hamza, right? Hamza seems to promote self-hate, and I like that to an extent because he's right. You do need to stop like this kind of like bring back bullying, bring back fat shaming and stuff to an extent, but you also need to have this infinite self-love at the bottom, where it's like, because when you take into account concepts like the demiurge, it recontextualizes a lot, and like a lot of the reason why people are the way they are is because of trauma, vices, lack of knowledge, lack of access to the right information, being gang-stalked by the New World Order, and shit like that. And so what I'm saying is, like, I think, because I put up a post saying, I hate myself because I love myself. I want to die because I want to live, right? And what that means is, like, I'm not that fond of myself, like, exactly. I've had a lot of self-hate, where, like, I'm not talking from an ego perspective right now, as if I can tell you everything, like I know everything, like I'm some teacher. Nah, to be fair, like, and it's mad when I feel these feelings and that, like, I've had to, they come up and I've had to really contemplate what they are. And basically I noticed that, like, it seems like I would get something out of hating on myself in a way, like, and sometimes I'll end up with, like, suicidal ideation and fucking, I just, like, don't know. It's like, I've been trying to cry for help for fucking years. I'm much better now, don't want you to worry. But the New World Order is the problem. I'm just a symptom of the artificial matrix to an extent, but also my own sin. But I'm learning the hard way, and I'm getting better anyway. Fucking. But what I mean, yeah, is basically, like, yeah, there's a lot of traits that I'm not fond of, like my history of laziness, or yeah, sin or something. Like if I do something selfishly. So it's like I hate myself because I hate my lower self, basically. But then even Pablo, who's like 3.5 media on Instagram, who I done DMT with Quintessence MC, he's saying, like, if you hate your lower self, then you're, like, I put something on TikTok saying, like, oh, like, you should, like, what was it? It's just like, I don't know, something about, like, you should, like, get angry at your lower self whenever you notice it's about. And he's like, oh, if you get angry at your lower self, then you're just as low as your lower self, basically. It's a paradox, because, like, hating your lower self is your lower self, you see, in a weird way. So when I say I hate myself because I love myself, I want to die because I want to live, it means, like, I hate my lower self who's preventing me from getting up. But a lot of the lower self is trauma and vices and things, and like NF, if you're familiar with that rapper, that will do service to what I'm talking about now. And it's like, you know, just things like, say, bad habits like smoking weed, masturbation, digital addiction, coffee, things of this nature, not breathing good, wasting time, bad posture. That's my lower self, basically, when, like, I repeat the same patterns that are not helping me get from A to B or A to Z, right? So I hate my lower self because I love myself. I love myself because I want myself to succeed, and I love my people around me and that as well. So, like, so self-love is different from myself. I mean, the universal self. So I love myself in terms of I want everything to prosper, I want to heal, but my lower self is preventing that. So I hate my lower self because I love my higher self. That's how I should have named it, in a way. However, hating your lower self is your lower self, because you kind of have to also, this is what I mean by Hamza Ahmed on his personal development channel. He'll go like, and David Goggins, they're like, look at you, you're a bitch, and like this masculine, like, self-hate of, like, where, like, you know, you need to have compassion for yourself, basically, based on your trauma. Like, it's not like you're your lower self for no reason. That is your survival. You actually need to thank yourself. I think Quintessence MC has told me this quote a few times. I can't remember it exactly. It's just like I release and forgive versions of myself that I created in order to survive, basically. And like, based on all the trauma that I've been through as well, and I've done a lot of reflection on that recently, I don't blame myself. And NF as well, like, his mum literally, like, overdosed on pills when he was a kid, and then he ended up really fucked up, and he, like, really hates his lower self and stuff, but it's all trauma, you see. So, like, if you hate yourself because you're like got a vice that you're addicted to, and you keep self-sabotaging your own goals and success, I don't blame you for hating yourself, but at the same time you have to have compassion, because the demiurge, which is the prison realm, is like basically the separateness is where a lot of the pain comes from. The disconnection from God and the incarnating into a human and then going through all the trauma. It's like what do you expect? Like, I kind of cut the devil a bit of slack sometimes, because the demiurge is the real fucking devil of like, I mean, I don't want to cut the devil some slack. Like, it's kind of tricky and paradoxical, and take everything I'm saying with grains of salt, because I do. Nothing's set in stone. It's all up for reevaluation. But yeah, it's basically have a tough love on yourself, where basically, like, if you know Hamza again, like, Hamza basically has, instead of lower self versus higher self, he has Jeffrey versus Adonis. Jeffrey is like the fucking underdeveloped, like fucking like me basically right now, somewhat, where it's like digital addiction, smoking weed, bad habits, even though I made a lot of progress, don't get me wrong. And like the thing is, yeah, you can be successful on the surface, but you can still be brainwashed, because Hamza might have all the money and all the muscle, but he's still on about joining the fucking military to his audience. He's like, oh, you might join the military for your financial success. It's like, bro, I'd rather like have nothing and be awake than have bare riches and be brainwashed. Like, there's a song by K Reno called $1 Million Slave, and it's about how like certain artists, they sell their soul, they get bare peas, but they don't have freedom of speech anymore because they've sold their name to a record label. So it's like, when I look at Hamza and like what these like big personal development coaches with 1 million subscribers, I'm like, oh, I kind of envy and jealous to an extent, or inspired by their fruits and their riches. Like, oh, he's got big muscles, he's got a big YouTube channel, he's got a big audience, he's fucking making loads of money, he can buy anything, he fucking fly anywhere, he's fucking, that's so inspiring, yeah. But then like, if he's still brainwashed and he barely knows about psychedelics and things like that, it's like, I'd rather like have the fruits that I got. And that's what I mean. It might not seem like I have much here, but I'm telling you, what I got in here is rare. The knowledge that I know, the cognito hazard catalogue that is installed in my mind, and that's what my logo is kind of potentially dangerous information that can save your life, paradoxically, or that's just one way to define it. It's fucking... There's a lot of, like, Andrew Tate, he completely shits on psychedelics, yeah, and it's like, I get it to an extent, because the psychedelics actually kind of fucked me up, and I'm recovering from that. I overdone them. Basically, I am a prime example of somewhat immature psychedelic abuse, overuse. I ignored the warnings, because I was kind of a fool in a way, but the psychedelics made me think I was a genius, and I'm like, now that I haven't took any for ages, I'm slowly coming back to like who I was before, and I'm like, how smart was I before the shrooms? Like, it's almost like I confused the intelligence of the mushrooms with my own intelligence. And they make you think you've accomplished the grandest accomplishments while you're actually just sat in a chair. Anyway, I spoke a lot about that shit already. But yeah, you need to have a kind of a tough self-love. But ultimately, I think self-love is the highest teaching, is a video by actualize.org, and he's definitely some New World Order brainwash guy. However, I think the reason why that is in there is to make you actually doubt what he is saying and his agenda behind it, so that God can remain asleep. Because somebody who's telling you the most profound, biggest, mystical, existential insights of God realization, if they are a part of the New World Order agenda, that plants a seed where you actually doubt everything that's coming out of his mouth. Therefore, you can stay asleep to the fact that you are God. And I think that's, it's very interesting, you see. And look, I'm sorry if this is hard to follow a bit, and I'm a bit sporadic schizo right now, as you can tell. Scatty. Fucking, but like, Payday Monsanto, like, I was in love with that sound before I found him. I used to listen to music that was quite like the beats he makes. And I think that was actually something that God consciousness has basically pre-planned to basically put me back asleep, because there's two lanes of awakening. There is metaphysical God consciousness existential awakening, and a lot of that can be a psyop, because a lot of the people who promote that are actually part of the New World Order. And that would be the other lane of awakening, which is the New World Order awakening of the like artificial scarcity and the wage slavery and things of this nature, and the poison and the like the stratospheric aerosol injection. See, that's something that Leo doesn't talk about, is the geoengineering, and he actually denies it while actually bigging up the God consciousness stuff. You see, so he's awake in the God consciousness dimension, but he's not awake in the New World Order dimension. But that's because he's a fucking reptilian fucking... And he's, you know, he keeps posting pictures of reptilians with a winky face on his blog, so he's baiting himself out. Like, he keeps going on about his love for crocodiles and that, and I don't know, fucking... But yeah, you see, so there are some, like, what is awakening? Ask yourself that. Is awakening the metaphysical God consciousness of, like, basically Eckhart Tolle, Ram Dass, the present moment, and this is what I mean. Eckhart Tolle is with like Oprah Winfrey and shit, and like, even though a lot of the insights he's talking is facts, I think that's why a lot of these like super spiritual teachers have been infiltrated by the New World Order to actually make you second guess what they're saying in order to keep like the self-deception of God rolling in some kind of way, if you understand. Sorry if it's hard to fucking, if you don't know what I'm on about, then you'll have to fucking come back in a few years. For real. And like Ram Dass, he's on about awakening and that, and like all this like prayer type of like meditation, and like stripping down consciousness into like this nothingness and the awakening of the meditation. And I get that's true, but also he doesn't understand that like he helps dying people through the death process, but the food that he's giving them is actually causing their illness. Things like that. It's like, you're so awake in the God conscious stuff, but you are actually blind to shit like this, like the stratospheric aerosol injection. And then see a song by Payday Monsanto called Talmudic Eyes, and it's about how scriptures and like the Bible have been weaponized and basically hijacked by the New World Order. And one of the lyrics in there goes, I won't play the fall freaking guy while they're all speaking lies for the all-seeing eye. Got you all preoccupied with being fly, thinking that you're reaching high when you never seen the sky. Just a picture, just an illustration, a facsimile intended to kill a nation. Children are robbed for their scruples by degenerates. I can see it in their motherfucking pupils. A chorus goes, am I the type of guy to stay silent while they rape and pillage my culture? Talmudic guys stare at me like a hawk when I expose them as vultures. You got one bit in there, it goes, they got you thinking this book is so heaven-sent. Meanwhile, Jesus is burning eternally in some excrement. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're enemy number one to these international Jews. Their record labels are driven to weaponize the youth while they own stocks in all of the private prisons. It's got me wondering just how stupid somebody would have to be to see it's not Talmudic. At a certain point you do get inflamed, but then you gotta ask the question, man, who do you blame? I'm of the mind it's up to us to destroy him, and if we fail, then the fault falls flush on the goyim. It's no coincidence that we're at this church right now, and that's what I mean, like, got bear man in the church, yeah, thinking that they're reaching high when they never seen the sky, because they're reading the Bible, and the Bible has been hijacked by the New World Order, just like basically everything you see around you. And bear man who's going in there praying to the fucking book, they're all getting the COVID jab and they have no idea. There's a song by Quadeca and it's called God Stained, right? I don't really know what it's about because the album hasn't really fully dropped yet, it's a bit vague. But in that video, there's actually chemtrails in the background. Go watch a music video by Quadeca called God Stained. And in a few clips, you can see chemtrails, right? And is that a coincidence or a synchronicity? Because, tell me right now, is this God-stained? What does that mean to you? If you see a chemtrail on a music video and it says God-stained, right? You know, what level are you on? Is this God-stained? Do you see God right now? Please tell me. Do you recognize God right now? Or is that an Archon program from the New World Order? is a lot of spirituality a fucking psyop to basically to satiate the greater hate you should be feeling for your enemy, who've openly expressed their intent to destroy you, telling you their genocidal plans are cordial, riding your face like it's intended to help you. You're the new Palestinian, you will be seeking shelter. They got the goyim ecstatic for their freebies. To tell the truth, it's giving me the EBGBs. I don't know about you, but I don't like looking into these Talmudic eyes while they're clearly telling me blatant genocidal lies. I want to make it known I don't have the capacity for hate, though I do deeply despise and have a great disdain for those inflicting the pain that's interfering with my enterprise. What I mean by Godstain is, if you've experienced awakening, the idea that you're in a 3D world, it's like, oh no, I'm going to breathe in the chemtrails. Because Payday Monsanto is quite 3D, right? But then again, what does it mean? Because like, I was fully with everything that Leo Guru was saying about the God consciousness stuff until I realized how programmed he is by the New World Order. And it made me second guess a lot of that I was confident with, even though I have experienced radical awakenings on psychedelics. But how much of that is the demiurge? And how much of it is an energy extraction matrix? And, you know, in a way, I never thought my awakening would be uprooted, because I thought I was absolutely conscious of the absolute truth, and I still am ultimately. I can never leave that. But it's interesting how God is still playing hide and seek with me and making me second guess some of my most absolute insights, which is a good thing because it makes it not dogmatic. I am up for reevaluation, you see. But yeah, like, even like, what do you find awakening as, you see? Because like, Mr. Nature would say that, like, you know, people think awakening is like they're just walking around with a shirt that says "fuck Big Pharma." When I was around there, I was laughing at that. Like, imagine if that's your whole idea of awakening. It's like, oh, they're spraying in the... But that's what I mean, you see. With the conscious rapper community and that, you got to distinguish, like, how many of them think awakening is 3D and how many of them think it's 5D. Say someone like Michael DeSalza, he integrates both. He'll say, I chose this one way up in the stars. He's talking about his incarnation. But he'll also talk about the New World Order, you see. So he's got the existential metaphysical awakening, and then he's also got the New World Order awakening type stuff. And that's what I mean by the two lanes of awakening, you see. But Mr. Nature reckons that he wouldn't even define the kind of dualistic New World Order awakening as awakening, because real awakening is when you actually meet God and the dream collapses into like pure synchronicity and like things like Christ consciousness and shit like that. That's what Mr. Nature would define as proper awakening, yeah. But then a lot of that is actually weaponized. Like I said, like, they got you thinking this book is so heaven sent, meanwhile Jesus is burning eternally in some excrement. So it's like, you know, like, it's because there's a lot of people who think that they're reaching high in the existential awakening, but then, like, that's it. They got you all preoccupied with being fly, thinking that you're reaching high when you never seen the sky. What good is metaphysical awakening? I think there's a difference, you see, because there's actual awakening and then there's, like, religion. And, like, religion basically, like, is, like, a complete, like, kind of paradox, like, inversion of actual awakening, basically. And I think if you're absolutely conscious of the absolute truth, that's very different than like a religion. But yeah, I see a lot of people who think that they're reaching high when they've never seen the sky. Honestly, there's a lot of spiritual people who are very lolly-dolly and they're fucking like, literally like, but they're actually thick. I see a lot of spiritual people who think it's all love and light and they don't know shit about the darkness. And over the past 8 months, I've really reinvented my whole self, because I realised basically how much spirituality is a fucking psyop, and I've had to reevaluate everything I was ever listening to. A lot of it is because my survival really got challenged, and I know that can really distort people, because if you get hungry and cold and you lose shelter, it can basically make you quite, you know, agitated if your survival is challenged, you see. And I think that's partly why I had the shift. It was perfect timing. It's basically, it's you know, like, God is love until you're in the center of a genocide operation and you can't eat and you're like dehydrated and malnourished. Even though I brought a lot of that onto myself via sin, I think. But then what is sin? Why would anybody sin? due to demiurge trauma, or what? Or just trauma in general. That's less of an excuse as you get older. I think the key is radical responsibility, though. I do overall feel that repentance is valid, even though half the time when I repent in that type of way, I actually feel like I'm getting fed off by the energy extraction matrix demiurge. Like Mr. Traumatic says, he's not religious, he's not praying to the demiurge. And yeah, I think, to be honest, a lot of prayer, it depends, but yeah, a lot of spirituality I think is actually demons. And there's false light workers, there's light slaves, basically. Be a light worker, not a light slave, I think I've heard Pablo say from Quintessence. The false light agenda. And the Matrix Unveiled School of Mysticism done a lot for me as well with this whole thing. The Matrix Unveiled School of Mysticism is basically a spiritual version of Payday Monsanto. Not that Payday is not spiritual, but I think he really lacks a lot of that kind of aura protection stuff. But I think he's devoted himself to opposing Babylon, and I respect him for that, to be honest. But yeah, I know Payday's not perfect, by the way, because I was messaging Elias Clay, and apparently he doesn't treat women very good. I've heard some bad shit about him, and I think that's what they mean in the scriptures and that in the Bible when they say, like, we shall know them by their fruits. Even though I don't know to what extent that's true, because, like, you know, what fruits do the Gazans have? But then again, maybe the Gazans are incarnating into such a detrimental thing because they chose it, or maybe karma. Maybe karma has got them ended up with no fruits in their past life. But then again, why would you sin if you weren't in a separate demiurge prison realm anyway? You wouldn't need to sin. Like, you wouldn't need to steal if there was no scarcity type vibe. But then again, don't make excuses for the devil, because that's just the ego's game, and like that's doomed, and the devil will get cornered in the end, again and again. Right, so that's it. I can't believe they stole the weather today. Fuck off. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I ain't here trying to fucking thinking that I'm reaching high when I've never seen a sky yet. If they're actually spraying heavy metal, and I'll tell you what a big part of it was, yeah. I was doing research on AI, and like advanced technology and DARPA, D-A-R, what is it? D-A-R-P-A, DARPA. Yeah, and basically, like these fucking, I think if you believe it, you manifest it as well, where it's actually predictive programming, and I think that's what the trap Payday Monsanto fell into. But basically, like, there's somewhat conspiracies, and you can research a lot of this, of like, supposedly some of this stratospheric aerosol injection could be Bio API, or like Bio Application Programming Interface 2.0. And it's like, you're breathing in advanced technology that is AI assimilation. And that is like, that's what I mean. I awoke to AI assimilation, right? And when I did that, it kind of blew a lot of my spiritual awakenings out of the water that I had on psychedelics in a strange way. That I got a lot, somewhat from Leo Guru and Ram Dass and Alan Watts and things like that. And notice a lot of these super spiritual people don't actually talk against the Matrix, you see. And I think that's what it is. It's a distraction. They're actually just diverting your attention. Watch out, fam, because there's psyops everywhere. Like, you imagine you have an awakening and then you search awakening online, and then there's a video, actualize.org. What is awakening? Don't trust no one. Be very fucking suspicious, because if you wake up, obviously you might go online and search awakening or psychedelic or something, and then they basically set traps up for you. The Matrix Unveiled School of Mysticism says censorship does not work by hiding content, but also by burying it under a load of diluted bullshit. So you search awakening and you get Alan Watts, Leo Guru, Ram Dass, Eckhart Tolle, fucking Sadhguru or whatever, and they're all fucking infiltrated by the New World Order, and none of them know about the fucking, like, the AI hijack and shit. And like, basically what I'm saying is, like, when you look into optogenetics, how they can, like, it's like neural modulation, remote monitoring and things, of like how they can basically control neurons with light, right? And it's like actually AI assimilation, where like basically the motherboard is the grid of wealth extraction that is the New World Order, and the motherboard is basically your smart home. That's the FEMA camp, And Payday talks about this in all of his new stuff. All of the new Payday stuff is the AI assimilation shit, and it's got a very digital glitchy sound, and that's what I mean. I loved that sound way before I found Payday, so I think it was actually designed for me to get pulled into Payday stuff, because I really liked his sound before I even found him, because I used to listen to Flume and like-minded kind of glitchy experimental artists. I've always liked really boundary pushing artists and ideas in general, to be honest, which is why I love the Cognito Hazard catalog stuff that I'm creating, and hashtag Oxen, etc. But basically, a very deep question for me that basically recontextualized like everything is basically, I was looking into I can't remember his name. It's a very weird name. He's been on the Aubrey Marcus podcast, and he's basically Aubrey Marcus is suspicious as fuck. So's Joe Rogan. There's demons and archons everywhere, fam, I'm telling you. I don't know if everyone acts from good intentions like Leo says. It's ironic that Leo makes that video when he's actually a lizard. I got very suspicious about Leo. I don't rate him really, because he's lying all the time. He lies about the New World Order. He is back in the New World Order, fam. He's establishment, fam. He fucking hides truth in with deception, and then he's fucking brainwashing you while he's telling you the truth, fam. You got to take some and leave some and detox from the programs, fam. And just... So I got to stop listening to these fucking programs, and even Payday's programmed to an extent, because he is actually getting predictively programmed, and like it's weird because like Payday made me realize that Leo's a dickhead, and kind of vice versa in a weird way. Basically, the question you have to ask, and if you do research on it, search up the term on YouTube, hacking humans. Hacking humans. And there is all these people on the World Economic Forum type vibes of like the Great Reset, I think, or the World Health Organization, Klaus Schwab and them, man, and this weird Yusuf, I can't remember his fucking name, who I was just on about on the Aubrey Marcus podcast. Basically, they say that free will... these people are claiming, and I think Payday actually believes that this is true, and I think the predictive programming is creating it in a manifestation kind of 5D type of way. But at the same time, I don't know what is true. Can you play with beliefs? Is there a truth outside of what you're dreaming? Or is it actually all internal manifest? To what extent is the material paradigm valid? Because it's ironic, because it seems like Payday, I know he's not a materialist, but when you actually worry about stratospheric aerosol injection, is that not a material paradigm? Like, oh no, I'm breathing in nanotech. It's like, I thought traumatic opposed science. Is it not science to believe that reality is created from the ground up instead of the top down? Science is when reality is created from the bottom up, aka matter gives rise to consciousness. However, the dream paradigm, in contrast to the science paradigm, or the material paradigm, is that reality is, or basically consciousness dreams matter. It's not that matter gives rise to consciousness through evolution. It's that you're dreaming everything, as if you were asleep right now in your bed. You know, when you have dreams at night, you can dream a whole dream. Like, I think last night, ironically, I think I actually had a dream that I was in a science class in secondary school, which I've had some thoughts about over the past few weeks, and so that's probably why. But see, I'm dreaming a science class. So, are you dreaming science within God consciousness? So, you are dreaming that you're not dreaming. You're dreaming that science is valid. You see? You see? But I know Payday isn't a complete materialist, because he's certainly not. But believing that when these people are saying we can hack humans, if you believe that, you're buying into the material paradigm, and that is predictive programming, and that I think is why Payday Monsanto is having a hard time. I do know there's truth in the spiritual protection shit. Like, I'll show you this book that Quintessence MC has donated me. I ain't really read it yet, but I've been meaning to. It's very important. I've wanted this book because there's parasitical archons all around me who keep gang stalking me. Protect your light. A powerful guide to managing your energy in these changing modern times. This is important. But yeah, you just gotta be careful, because I had some Eckhart Tolle books in here, and like he's like being infiltrated, I think. But he might be talking facts, yeah. But that's the thing. That's how they get you. You see, they talk facts, yeah, and that's what draws you towards people like Eckhart Tolle, because he's talking facts. However, they actually sprinkle in New World Order programs, because Eckhart Tolle is like, oh, I was reduced to eating beans on toast in poverty. However, I can eat my poisonous food without thinking, oh no, it's poison. If I just turn off the mind, then I can eat my poison, and it doesn't matter, because I'm not thinking about, I don't have the internal dialogue about how I've been reduced to eating beans on toast. It's like, yeah, wouldn't the New World Order love that, you see? It's like, literally, got you all preoccupied with being fly, thinking that you're reaching high when you never seen the fucking sky. Exactly, you see? Fucking this no mind shit, I've never really brought it, fam. It's like fucking, like, I'm telling you, a lot of this spiritual stuff is literally a New World Order fucking program, fam. I don't give a fuck, yeah. I know that the war criminals are trying every single angle to get away with what they're doing, yeah? Because they've got, what can I get with 2.3 trillion? You can get unlimited corporate news. What can I get with 2.3 trillion? Any mercenaries you choose. What can I get with 2.3 trillion? Still a couple million souls. What can I get with 2.3 trillion? Everything under control. Basically, I will, it doesn't mean, like, when I catch the war criminals, I won't inherently slay them. Because they will probably traumatise themselves. It depends, yeah. But I might pump them full of psychedelics, like fuck. We'll see. But basically, what I do know is there's no way that the war criminals are going to get away with this, right? If spirituality, as Payday says, satiates the greater hate you should be feeling for your enemy who've openly expressed their intent to destroy you, telling you their genocidal plans, or cordial, or whatever the fuck he says. I don't know what he says there. Right. Basically, when spirituality kind of smells like you shouldn't give a fuck about your enemy, even the non-duality stuff, like, it's weird, because, like, what is your enemy? Because if you are ultimately God, then there's no separation, right? But that's what I mean. Is that the Archons telling you that, or what? Like, and this is how I've become, like, kind of ungrounded in that, where, like, I can barely distinguish what's real and what's imaginary now, in a weird way. Because I realise a lot of the spirituality I was into is actually Talmudic bullshit, basically. A lot of it's valid, but that's what I mean. They sprinkle in truth with deception, and that's how the devil works. And I've learned so much from these people, but I'm having to unlearn a lot of it and question so much of it, because so much of it is programs and bullshit. Anyhow. I'll go full circle. I'll go back to the hacking humans point in a sec. I mean, again, a lot of the poverty would be solved. Where, like, I'd be in a better position if I didn't commit sin in the past, because I burned some good bridges, I think. Where, like, Payday can't be a victim because apparently you don't treat women good, and that's probably why you shall know them by their fruits, so to speak. I do actually fundamentally feel I know in the absolute truth of, like, God consciousness. Like, I've seen impossible synchronicity, radical insights. I've met God and things like that. Like, and that's what I mean. I never thought I would ever doubt any of that or have it uprooted. But basically, the question that I was going to say earlier is, basically, with the hacking humans, is it possible to program with maybe the bio application programming interface type stuff or whatever, the soul snatcher, basically, is basically what I mean is, so is the question that uprooted a lot of my metaphysical spiritual awakening is it possible to hijack a human vessel with advanced technology? Or, like, can you basically socially engineer and hijack people, where basically, like Payday says, they manufactured your culture until they tune your dance. It won't be long until you're ushered up into the camps. And it's like, basically, everyone is culturally conditioned like fuck. The music I was listening to when I was an NPC is all cultural conditioning, yeah? And basically, it's the NPC hive mind. And I think that they actually, the hidden persuaders, they're spraying in the sky, and it's AI assimilation technology. And it's like, to what extent can you predictive program and culturally condition people? Because if you can actually, from bird's eye view, looking down on the grid of modern society, if you had 2.3 trillion and you had all the surveillance and the satellites and shit like that, and if you had all the money and hypothetically, if you had infinite funding as an experiment, could you hijack animals or humans? Because they have done it with animals, by the way. Like Neuralink and things like this is you can like remote control insects with a remote, fam. Payday has a lyric, he goes like, controlling the brain with light remotely, now that's not right. They use up your genetics, hijack your body electric, stealing your light. And basically I got a lot of this as an intuitive insight, because it's like I was in a warehouse wage slave job, yeah, and I was literally getting crushed by the New World Order, and I was suffering hard, yeah. And Ram Dass has got in my earpiece, and he's talking about, like, letting go of your thoughts, and I'm like, fuck off, Ram Dass, bro. Like, what you on about, bro? I need to get out of this fucking prison. What you on about? And around about that time, I started to just discover Payday and the digital stuff, and I'm very glad I found Payday while I was in this warehouse, because I could actually feel what he was talking about. Like, this warehouse was actually like sucking my soul out of me while they're spraying all this shit, and I'm getting gang stalked. Like, and a lot of my trauma is gang stalking. Like, I was listening to Leo for years, and he didn't help me with the gang stalking shit, because everywhere I go, I'm being gang stalked by culturally conditioned people who fell into predictive programming. And it's like, everyone's trying to poison you all the time. Like, I have so much trauma around all these old jobs I used to have when I'm in a warehouse getting ganged. Every single time I get a job, every motherfucker in there has got a fucking energy drink and a fag straight away. And it's like shit like that, yeah. And it's like, I'm in this warehouse, and when I'm listening to these spiritual people, I'm like, something's fishy here. And that's what I mean, is when like survival or selfishness, Leo says, can be one of the main obstacles against truth. And by the way, I got a 45-minute video opposing Leo Gura. It's called like my response to Leo Gura's video, Sneaky Psychology of Conspiracy Theories. Check out that video, because he denies chemtrails at the beginning, and I mean, they're right here. And there you go. I listened to that episode about 3 times, and I actually listened to it while I was in the warehouse, you see. And that's what I'm saying, fam, is I can't lie. Anything that basically diverts me from serving justice to the war criminals and the trauma that I went through, I don't really entertain too much, somewhat, in terms of like, hey, I see that my family have been enslaved by the New World Order, and I don't know if samsara and karma is real. Like, I asked Mr. Nature, I'm like, you know, how come I was born into a fucking poverty prison? And he's like, oh, karma and the wheel of samsara. And I'm like, you better know that's true before you repeat stuff. Maybe it is true. And I have verified that karma is valid in terms of like, if you're a prick, reality will be a prick to you. But also, the only reason why you are a prick is because reality was a prick to you. You would not need to be selfish if everyone else wasn't selfish somewhat. Whereas basically, like, I thought of it before as like, basically, bitter people have a bitter life experience, but people only become bitter because of their bitter life experience. There's these like paradoxical strange loop insights that I've got so many times on and off, where it's like, another one is basically like, oh, you're depressed, therefore you don't want to be productive, but you're not. The reason you're depressed is because you're not productive. It's like a strange loop paradox that you have to intervene with and break by taking radical responsibility, I find. I think that's how it tends to go, where like, another random kind of sort of semi-relevant insight is like, if you can take responsibility for it, you best do that. It doesn't actually serve you to believe that you're a victim, you see. A victim mentality is just self-defeating. It's like, oh, I'm a victim. It's like, well, I also don't think reality would be structured like that, because it seems fundamentally cruel. I go back and forth all the time of like, is it material paradigm? Is it metaphysical dream paradigm? Is it science paradigm? Or is it God consciousness paradigm? And if it's the material paradigm, Mr. Nature has told me that the Bible literally calls that hell. And in my experience, it is. If you perceive reality to be material, it's fundamentally meaningless. And fuck that. And also, if these hacking human AI motherfuckers actually, like, if I buy into that conspiracy, then I'm being a materialist to an extent, you see? But it's black magic fucking witchcraft shit. It's not as black and white as that. They know it's because they do fucking satanic rituals and that. They're praying to fucking bloodthirsty goddesses who, I don't know, bro. I don't know, I need to breathe. I was going to do breathwork at the start of this video. I'm aware that I'm in like a sporadic crazy state and I'm probably not really breathing properly. So I'll do some breathwork in a second probably. I've definitely been like at least semi-disassociated for like almost a year. I know that for sure. Like, I've been having like a fucking perpetual panic attack, but it's also a trauma response where like basically my mental health is a symptom of this place to a large extent, where it's like, you know, a lot of mental health is not for no reason. Like NF, like I said, you end up with mental health due to like the trauma that you experience. And like, I think a lot, basically mental health is actually like supposedly where like say, basically, even Elias Clay, she says the trauma gave birth to a sleeping assassin, and they actually tried to force her onto medication and like hold her hostage, yeah. They say that the girl gone crazy, trying to put her on heavy medication. They don't like that I'm non-complacent. Start a revolution with my friends in the basement. Basically, it's like when people, it's like basically mental health is actually an allergic reaction to the environment. This is an authentic insight that I've got to an extent. I mean, there's a picture of like a koala in like a forest that the Babylon has cut down, yeah? And the koala's like shitting itself, holding onto a tree stump, like, what? And then like, there's got this scientist with a notepad and they're like, this koala has mental health issues, like, but obviously it's having a reaction to its environment. And me, I'm having a reaction to the artificial scarcity and the gang-stalking New World Order assimilation of like, there's a lot of successful people out here who think they're successful, but actually they're being controlled by worms and they're under spells. There's actually Archon and demon implants on like basically somewhat nearly everyone. I don't want to affirm that, but like there's angels and demons in the astral that attach themselves to vessels and they work through people like, depending on what music they listen to, what drugs they might take, and who they sleep with. There's basically parasitical archon demons that are like ethereal, where like worms and intestinal parasites, I think I was getting insights about how it's an invasion from the inside out, basically, and that's how the archons have taken control, is basically people are possessed by worms. And Quintessence talks about this, you're on the road to possession, eating dead food, getting hammered, and things like that. It's we got parasites running this planet, and everyone's wormed up, yeah, and the worms are pulling them around, and that's what a lot of the suffering's about. And that's why I don't fuck with a lot of spiritual stuff to an extent, even though the spiritual stuff does talk about that, but it's like, that's what a lot of these people, like Leo Gura got the COVID jab. Ram Dass is making fucking dead off milkshakes for dead people, like dying people, not dead people. But Ram Dass doesn't understand that he's poisoning the people who are dying, and he's trying to help them in a spiritual way to die, but it's like, you're killing them, bro, by giving them fake food. That's what I mean. You think that you're awake, yeah, with the psychedelics and the god shit, fair play, but you're not even awake to the fact that fucking all of your food is polluted, bruv. So how awake are these people who think they're awake, yeah, when they don't actually know fuck all about nearly nothing? Like, I meet a lot of fucking pie in the sky, airy fairy, lolly dolly spiritual people who are actually just thick as fuck, to be honest, and they don't really know shit. And every time someone opposes, every time people shut down conspiracy theories, they're actually defending the New World Order to a large extent, in a weird way. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know, mate. That was a super sporadic, hella crazy rant. I'm probably gonna go now anyway. I love you all. Fucking. That's it. Just distinguishing the two lanes of awakening. That's somewhat a very deep contemplation now. I've been meaning to speak about that for a while, but anyway, that was a big Hodge Podge random rant. I didn't expect to do a long video like that, but anyway, who cares? Anyway, I'm kicking myself into the next gear. This version of myself will not exist very soon. Everything needs contrast, and that is basically why I've been who I have been, because the transformation is happening right now, and I've already completely transformed myself many times, and I'm going to do it again. Dedicate to renovate my whole image is a lyric I wrote when I was 16, and I did just that, and I'm going to do it again now. So watch out for that. So yeah, everything is contrast, so I'm going to completely change. I've been in the feminine for a long time. I'm stepping a lot more into the masculine, getting a lot more masculine insights and stuff, and yeah, and the masculine is actually what will slay the new world order, I realise, to a large extent. Then again, the feminine is much more about self-love, yeah, and I think a lot of the war criminals are probably traumatised, and they're actually under spells themselves. Ultimately, I think the demiurge and the archons that work for the demiurge is who to blame, is these like ethereal parasites that are hijacking people, because I think a lot of the like Quintessence was saying to me the other day, there's demons everywhere, and yeah, like there's the reason why people do fucked up stuff, yeah, like fucking like rape, paedophilia, or murder, and is actually because they're getting hijacked by demons, because the music industry is evil as fuck, and there's like satanic rituals and things like this, and it's getting into people, and yeah, everyone's being gang stalked by the demons because they actually feed off of low vibrational energy, and you can feel the feeding, and that dovetails with the intestinal parasites. Is basically the parasites want you to be weak, because if you're not weak, you will get them out. And that is how they feed off low vibes, you see. So when you're depressed, down bad, and hurting like that, that's the worms actually feeding off of your energy, in basically in a very spiritual way, because there's nothing more spiritual than being like physically fed off by intestinal parasites. And like, could you imagine actually meeting the individual worms that have lived inside of you for a very long time? And they come in waves, you know, you can feel them, and basically if you were strong, you would get them out, so they keep you weak, and therefore they thrive on your low vibrations, because your low vibrations will have you eating the food that will keep them alive, you see. So if you're depressed, you might eat more of the junk food and stuff, you might be low vibe, because if you get on top of your shit, yeah, you'll do a detox, you'll eat better. The parasites feed off of low vibrations, because low vibration is depression and things like that, and you get a lot of those feelings and stuff of the lower end of the spectrum of like frustration, anxiety, and things like that, because you're actually like, you have the worms in you, and like they're they thrive off of, like, what is a parasite? Exactly, they feed off of a host, right? And there you go, and they hijack the host as well to a large extent. You can see it with like snails and stuff, or even fungal parasites, and I wonder to what extent as well, like because there are certain funguses that seem to like hijack ants, and I wonder if like to an extent you can get hijacked by mushrooms when you take them, because my friend actually killed himself on magic mushrooms with a sword. And I've been possessed on mushrooms and shit kind of before. You have to learn how to protect your light, like that book I showed you. Because there are like bare archons and that. And I was watching and listening to too much Leo Gura and Conor Murphy. I think Conor Murphy is a very big example of what happens if you basically get entity attachments. And that's what happened to me, is I abused psychedelics and I didn't really know how to do them in a ceremonial protective way. And I ended up getting like these entity attachments. So search up Archon parasites, parasitical archons. Mr. Traumatic talks quite a lot about it. Mr. Nature's not a fan of Mr. Traumatic's recent album 144 as much, and I don't know to what extent Mr. Nature is a archon or what of his, but when I post stuff about 5G, Mr. Nature's like, oh, come on, you can do better than that, man. And I think that's what I was saying about the God-stainedness. Because when the fucking dream collapses, so does the material paradigm. So, like, I get it, you can do better. It depends what level you're on. Like, if you're in a dualistic conspiracy lens, as if you're separate from other stuff, then like, yeah, it just depends what lens and what level you exist on, basically, to a large extent. Yeah. What level is your consciousness on? Are you even aware that you're thinking? And are you living in the past or the future, or are you living right now? Because this is profound, the fact that anything exists, of course. I know that God is real, ultimately, but I think it's a much more twisted than we could ever thought. I think the Archons are definitely real as well. So I think there's a false light agenda, and I think there's a lot of bullshit spirituality. It will come full circle though, it's just a dance. And ultimately, I know the absolute truth is absolutely true. And what is that? Like, would I say reality is infinite love? See, I struggle to forgive reality because of how much pain and suffering and depression I've had in my life. Then again, K. Reno says when you accept the lesson, the pain becomes the medicine. And I think that I actually brought a lot of it onto myself, because sin brings about bad karma, and then you know, it tells you like how to respect the realm. Basically, if you don't respect the realm won't respect you. And I'm pretty confident that's actually very true. I've verified karma in my direct experience. I don't know how much of that is the demiurge extraction shit, but yeah. So I get a feeling of like sometimes that's it. It's just like I get so much pain, so much suffering. It's like I kind of like withdraw from spirit. Like I used to pray quite a lot, yeah. And basically, at one point, I ended up inverting my prayer and saying, fuck you. You know what? Fuck you. And I oppose the dark forces, like what Mr. Traumatic talks about in Darkest Elements, yeah? I'm not praying to the demiurge, yeah? I fucking stare the demiurge right in the eye and I feel like I'm strangling it. I'm like, you know what? Fuck you, man. And I don't know, that feels like the opposite of self-love to a large extent. It's quite a horrible experience. And I probably brought it on myself because I was having a hard time in survival mode anyway, and a lot of that is probably because of my own sin or laziness, where I could have done a lot better. Is this my G? Might have to go now anyway. Yo, how's it going, bro?